Hello guys, my name is Zura and today we're gonna talk about PHP traits. In the first part of the video, I'm gonna explain what is a trait, how to create and use it, and in the second part of the video we're gonna see real-world examples about traits. I'm gonna also share some useful links such as how Laravel uses traits in its core packages or how the most downloaded PHP package uses traits. PHP traits solve two big problems in PHP. One, code duplication, and second, single inheritance problem. Let's see what says the most upvoted answer on php.net about traits. If you can copy and paste the code from one class into another, then you have a candidate for a trait. So, how can we do this? Let me jump into PHP Storm. Here we have two classes, class plane and class helicopter, and both of them has fly method and output the same thing. I am flying. So if I run the code, I see I'm flying 2 times. So definitely I have code duplication. This method is written twice in my code. How can traits solve this problem? Let me take this code, delete from both classes, and create trait. Creating trait is just like creating a class, just instead of using class keyword, you use trait. Trait, my trait, and I put method there. You cannot create objects directly from the trait. You need to use the trait inside the class and create an instance from the class. So let's use a trait in my plane class. Use my trait. And in helicopter, use my trait. That's it. The method is declared in one place and used in both classes. Save and run it, and I still see I'm flying 2 times. You probably think, but we can solve this with inheritance. If I create a parent class which has this fly method and extend plane and helicopter from this class, that will do the same thing. I have written this fly method in single place. And you were absolutely right. But traits have different purpose. So let's go as you say and create a class. Let's change this into a class like flyable class. Class flyable, and extend from flyable class. Okay, and remove these traits, and this works just like you are thinking. So it prints I'm flying 2 times. But let's extend this problem. Let's say that there is another class right here, which is car, and it has a method hello. And the hello just says I have an engine. Okay? Now let's imagine that I want to have this hello for plane and for helicopter also. I can put it right here, and plane and helicopter has this hello class which says I have an engine, but the car also needs this hello. And extending a car from this flyable class is not a good idea because car will have a fly method also. So we have a problem here. Without code duplication and without using traits, this problem cannot be solved. Hello method is duplicated right now. So if I copy this method and save it and get back to the trait example, and paste this method right here, now this hello method is in both classes, plane and helicopter, and I can create class car and use my trait. No, that's wrong. I need to create a different trait for this. Trait, let's call it, engine trait, and put it there hello, and use this engine trait for car. And if we want plane and helicopter to have this hello method also, we can use comma engine trait when using trait. So this is how traits can reduce code duplication. We have created two traits. One has fly, second has hello. Plane and helicopter uses both traits and car uses only engine trait. If we run the code, we can see that I'm flying is printed still 2 times, and if we create an instance of the car, it will have this hello method. Except methods, traits can have static properties, static methods, and abstract methods also, and normal properties. The only thing a trait cannot have is constant. So if I add a property here like public a equals 10, I can use this a for plane and for helicopter. Output it. So let's run this, and I see here 10, and then I'm flying. So I'm not going to show you all examples of static properties and static methods, but they can normally create it just like you create a static property or method inside the class, and you can use it. Let's see an example of abstract methods. For example, I can change this fly into abstract and leave the implementation inside plane or helicopter. And that makes sense. For example, the plane, let's implement this method, and the plane can say that I am flying at, for example, 800 km/h speed, right? And typo. And the helicopter can output a different string. For example, 300 km/h. So that makes sense. If you want to have the flyable, let's call it flyable trait, let me rename it, flyable trait. If I have a flyable trait and I use this trait in plane, helicopter, or even inside a bird, the implementation can be different. All of them needs to have fly method, but the implementation is different. Let's talk about single inheritance and how traits solve this problem in conflict resolution. So if I have on the following example, I have a class A, B, C, and D, and class A has method doWork which outputs class A. In class B and class C, which extends class A, we override this method doWork and output different strings like class B and class C. Now let's imagine that I want to have methods of both classes, class B and class C. In multiple inheritance languages, this is possible, not in PHP. But if it would be possible in PHP, how the engine would handle it? So I want to extend both class B and class C inside D, and I want to have this doWork method available, working. Which doWork method should the engine take? Class B's doWork or class C's doWork? That's the unresolved problem for PHP, and maybe probably because of this reason PHP is not multiple inheritance language. But we can have such kind of conflict when using traits. So let me make this example a little bit simple and remove this helicopter. Okay, remove it, remove the property. Okay, and let's say that flyable trait also has hello method. And let's output here, hello, I can fly. Now, I am using both traits in plane. Let's remove this car also. I'm using both traits in plane, and there's a big question. If I try to use this hello method on trait, which one will be used? Hello from flyable trait or from engine trait? If I run the code, we can see that it throws an exception. Trait method hello has not been applied because there are collisions. This can be solved. So here I can put a curly braces and write use flyable traits hello instead of engine trait, and use engine trait hello as engine hello. Okay, so typo again. And the semicolon is not necessary after curly braces. Now, what these two lines say? These say that when you use the hello method on the plane, it will use flyable traits hello instead of engine traits hello. But if you want to use engine traits hello, you need to call it with engine hello. Okay, let's try to call both engine hello and hello. And run the code, and we can see, let me remove this fly, and we can see that the first line says hello, I can fly, which is hello, flyable traits hello, and I have an engine is engine traits hello, which has now called engine hello. Okay, let's see another example. Traits inside another trait. So I can create a trait 1, which has method 1, and this prints full. And there is another trait which is called my trait 2, which has method 2. Okay, and this prints bar. Now I create another trait 3, let's call it also trait 2, and I use trait 1 here and trait 2. And now whenever I use trait 3 inside the class, it will have both methods, trait 1, method 1 and method 2. And I can also add additional methods right here, like method 3, and output 3. Okay, let's create a class, my class, and use trait 3 inside my class. Okay, create an instance, my class, and this A now has all 3 methods, method 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'll show you one last thing about traits, which is inheritance and traits together, and overriding of methods. And then let's jump to the second part of the video, where I'm going to show you real-world examples of traits. Here I have created 2 classes and 1 trait. Class A, which has hello method, trait A, which also has hello method, and class B, which extends A and uses trait A. Now there's a question: which hello method will be used if I create an instance and call hello method? Let's run the code and see hello from trait A. This is because you can think about the code inside trait as a copied and pasted inside the class. So using a trait here is much like taking the code of a trait and putting inside the class, which means that trait A's hello method overrides class A's hello method. Okay, let's extend this example and say that inside class I have a variable var A, okay, let's call it var1, which is 10. And now inside trait I want to use this var1. This is absolutely valid code. If we run, we can see here 10. I can also use parent keyword inside here. Parent hello. And if you're thinking this code inside class B, this is also valid. So this will concatenate both hellos. Hello from class A, hello from trait A. Okay, enough brief explanation. If you have any questions about this topic, you can find the links down in the video description below. If you find this video useful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And let's move to the second part of the video. If you have seen Avengers Endgame, this example should be fun for you. So here I have a bunch of classes, like Barton, which doesn't have any method. It can do many things but cannot lift hammer. I have a Hulk here, I have an Iron Man here, and I have Cap, which is Captain America, and I have Thor here, which has method lift the hammer. And I have an index PHP method, and I'm including all classes. So let's start with the first one and execute this code. Example 1, index PHP. So I want to call the method lift the hammer on Barton instance. So let's run the code.
I still don't know how you do it.
It doesn't work. Barton doesn't have method lift the hammer. Okay, let's try the second one. No, Hulk doesn't have this method also. Iron Man?
Be right back.
No. Cap?
Come on, Cap.
He doesn't have this method. And for Thor, of course, it will work, because we have this method there.
You're all not worthy.
Now, in the end game, Captain America took the hammer and lifted it. Now we need to take this method, copy this method, and put it inside Cap. Okay? Well, this works, and if I run now for Cap, this will write boom, done. But we have code duplication here. We have the same code in Cap class and in Thor class. For this, I would create a trait and use the trait in both classes. This is generally how I approach with the code. If I need code in one place only, in Thor class, I have it there inside the class. But as soon as I need the exact same code in a different class, like after some time, now Cap has this lift the hammer method also. So we need to take this code, create a trait, let's call it hammer trait. Okay, trait, hammer trait, and it has this method. And inside Thor, I'm gonna include this hammer trait and use it inside Thor. And do the exact same thing inside Cap class. Now, if we run this code, the output will give us an error. Oh yes, because we included the trait 2 times. So let's remove this from both classes and put it inside the index PHP class. Or there is another solution, like use this with require once, or include once. So, which means that if the class or trait is included, don't include it second time. So if we run this code, this works fine. And let's go to the index PHP and uncomment for both of the classes. And we see that boom, done is printed twice. Okay, let's move on a more serious example. Let's imagine that I'm doing a social network website like similar to Facebook, and I have three classes: post, photo, and comment, and I want to enable sharing functionality for all of them. So, and the sharing functionality is really easy. Take the ID of the object, no matter it's photo or comment or post, and share it. The ID is the unique identifier in the database. So for this, we would need to add an ID, like public ID, and let's say it 1. As far as they are different objects, 1 can be there. And I need share functionality for all of them. So one solution is create a method and copy and paste into all classes. Second solution, which we're going to do right now, is to create a shareable trait, which has the following method: share, which right now outputs shared. We can also print here self class shared with ID this ID. And now let's use this shareable trait in all classes. Use shareable trait. And now the share method is available for both classes, and run this example2 index.php. And you see post shared with ID 1, photo shared with ID 1, and comment shared with ID 1. It's a little bit ugly, so let me put here PHP end of line. Again, you see it, right? Okay, let's move on and see third and I think the most interesting example. Okay, here we have two classes. Robot class, which has two properties: max running speed and max walking time. And I generated getters and setters for these two properties, and it has constructor. And we have a drone, which has max flying speed, max flying time, and camera resolution public property. And I have generated also getters and setters for these three properties and constructor. The only common thing between these classes is this get max speed method. So the property is called get max flying speed, but the method is get max speed. And the same thing happens here. The max running speed is called the property, and get max speed and set max speed is the methods. Now in index.php, I want to create another class which is flying robot. And this robot can fly, and it has flying max speed, it can run and has running max speed, it has running max time and flying max time. So basically, except camera resolution, so let's say that the flying robot doesn't have camera at all, and except this camera resolution property, I need these two from drone and 2 properties from robot inside the flying robot. So again, one solution is to copy and paste the code from here, everything, the getters and setters and the constructor and the properties inside the flying robot, and use it there. But here probably inside drone will be a fly method, which will be a complex method, maybe 100 lines of code, and you have to copy this method inside the flying robot also. And inside robot, here will be a run method, which will be also a long method, and you need to copy this method inside flying robot also. Okay, long explanation, but I want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about right now. Okay, now let's convert this code so that we avoid code duplication, create traits, and use the traits inside drone, robot, and inside flying robot, so that we have all the functionalities still which are in drone and robot classes to remain the functionality inside flying robot. Okay, inside drone I created trait, and I moved basically my code, most of my code, inside drone trait, like max speed, max flying time, related methods, and inside the class drone I leave camera resolution and setters and getter methods for the camera resolution, and override the constructor method from the trait inside the drone class. Okay, inside robot I did the same thing. Basically here I moved everything inside trait, and my robot class is an empty class which uses the trait. Now let's go to the flying robot and use the how is it called? The drone trait and robot trait. Okay, this will throw an error because the drone trait has getMaxSpeed and setMaxSpeed methods as the robot trait has. So we need to resolve these two methods. Okay, so for this I would write the following code, which says use drone traits setMaxSpeed instead of robot traits setMaxSpeed. Use drone traits getMaxSpeed instead of robot traits getMaxSpeed. And use the drone traits setMaxSpeed as setFlyingMaxSpeed, and for getMaxSpeed it's getFlyingMaxSpeed. Basically here I have resolved the conflict between these two traits. And after this, the flying method will have 6 methods: setMaxSpeed, getMaxSpeed, which will be drone traits getMaxSpeed and setMaxSpeed. And it will have also setFlyingMaxSpeed, getFlyingMaxSpeed, setRunningMaxSpeed, and getRunningMaxSpeed. Let's generate a constructor which override the parent traits constructor. And here we accept the only 4 properties. We don't accept camera resolution. And we are calling this setFlyingMaxSpeed and setRunningMaxSpeed, which were resolved and created right here. So setFlyingMaxSpeed, if I comment this, PHP Storm says that this method is unknown. And setRunningMaxSpeed, they were created right here when we resolved the conflict. Okay, let's uncomment them. And let's also create an instance. Okay, here I create an instance of flying robot and give the arguments max running speed, walking time, flying speed, and max flying time. And I'm using both methods, getFlyingMaxSpeed and getRunningMaxSpeed. Remember, in traits, drone trait and robot trait, the methods were called getMaxSpeed, but we have already resolved right here. Okay, let's run the code. Example 3, index.php. I have a typo, semicolon is not necessary right here. Okay, let's run it, and I see 60, which is 60 is a flying speed, which is given as the third argument here, and 40 is the running speed, which is given as the first argument. So instead of getFlying speed, we could use getMaxSpeed. This method also works. It wasn't lost. This method was used instead of robot traits getMaxSpeed right on this line. So without using these 2 lines, we will have problems. Okay, let's move on and see how Laravel use traits. There is this package, Watson's validating, which is automatically validating eloquent models for Laravel. Well, this is a third-party validating plugin, but it works absolutely fine for Laravel. And here how this package uses traits. So when you use an eloquent model like post model, you can use validating trait. And the only requirement is that the protected rules must be declared inside the class. And if the rules array is declared, then the validating trait creates methods for this post, like it is described below: is valid, is invalid, get errors. According to the rules, the methods return true, false, or errors, and the validating trait does the validating of the model. Second example I want to show is PSR log, which is the most downloaded PHP package on Packagist. I have cloned this repository on my local computer so we can explore it in my PHP Storm. Here is this package, which has a couple of classes and interfaces. So this package offers a couple of different ways of doing the same thing with abstract classes, with interfaces, and with traits also. So it has this logger trait, which has normal methods like emergency, alert, and so on, and it has one abstract log method. And whenever you want to use this logger trait, you have to only implement this log method and save it somewhere in a database, in the cloud, or in the file system. And this trait is basically all what you need. So you include it and that's it. You will find some useful links in the video description down, so definitely check out the video description. If you find this video useful, please provide a nice comment, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and share this video to your friends. Thanks for watching and see you in the next time.